So in today's gospel, we see a Jesus that is quite different from what many of us would picture him to be like. Many times we picture Jesus to be like that Jesus that many times we see hanging on the walls of our grandmother, right? With a sweet face and very sweet guy that speaks very calm. And many times we think and we believe that Jesus was this man. And even some of us that is or that wills to, let's say, to grow in the spiritual life, we even try to be like that because that's what we think that holiness is all about, right? To put this nice face like this, right? When in fact it's something totally different. We see a Jesus that curses a fig tree. We see a Jesus that gets a whip and goes into the temple, and we can even say that he goes kind of crazy, very rough, very tough, right? Putting all the tables upside down, driving people away. So that was Jesus Christ, right? It is the same Jesus that used to be very tough with the Pharisees, used to call them hypocrites, brood of vipers, right? Tell Herod that fox. That was Jesus Christ. Which is the image, what we call in English, tough love, right? So today, Jesus, he comes with this love that is tough, which is a love that many of us sometimes we need in our lives. It's like when sometimes I tell parents as well that with our kids, at times we have to be tough, which is part of what love is, right? It's like me, my life, what really saved me, if you want, it was this tough love, because I needed this tough love. It's like the Pharisees, they needed this tough love. And here it's quite interesting what happens, because Christ, he goes, and we can even divide this gospel into two parts. The first part is the image of this fig tree. The fig tree here is the image of the people of Israel, that God so much treated and gave so much, and yet it was hard for them to give back fruits to God. And here we have Jesus that is walking by, and he's hungry. He wants to eat. And he passes by a fig tree. And then he sees that the fig tree doesn't have fruits. And he curses the fig tree. And it's interesting because the disciples, they think, but Lord, I mean, it's not even season for figs, and yet he wants fruits. Like, what is that? It's quite interesting. So Christ wants fruit from a fig tree when it's not season for figs. So what does that mean, right? And then after, he goes into the temple, and that's when he shows this tough love towards those people who are using the temple for money changing and all those kind of things, and selling. So again, what does this word tell me? What does this word tell you? The truth is that this fig tree and the temple is the image of you and I, right? That at times the Lord has to come and treat us with a little roughness, let's say. And he comes to us today. He's hungry. He's looking for fruits. And the question we can ask ourselves today, do I have fruits to give to Christ? Am I this fig tree today that gives fruit to him? And you might ask yourself, but Father, how is Jesus looking for fruits? Well, maybe Jesus is hungry today in your kids. Maybe he's asking for food in your kids. Maybe Jesus is hungry in your husband. Maybe Jesus is looking for food in your wife, or in your parents, or in your friends. I don't know. Even for me, this is a word for me as a priest. I don't know if we have other priests watching this, but we should ask ourselves, am I this fig tree today that is giving fruits to my parishioners in the ministry that God has entrusted to me? Am I this fig tree that gives fruit, or am I only this fig tree that has leaves and nothing else? It looks beautiful, evergreen, beautiful, but it doesn't have any fruit. We have to ask that. And because ultimately, what does it mean to give fruit? Well, it's to love. Ultimately, that's what it is. The fruits that Christ, he's asking of us. To give this fruit, it means to love my kids today. Even though sometimes it's impossible to love my wife, to love my husband. And what kind of love? Christ's kind of love, which is to bear upon ourselves the sin of other people, to bear upon ourselves, to carry upon ourselves the injustice of other people, to love in what we say in the dimension of the cross, to be crucified by other people, because otherwise love becomes something very worldly, let's say, right? Which I like to call the Netflix kind of love, right? Everything is beautiful, everything's fine, right? No suffering, no sacrifices. And that's not really what the kind of love that Christ has taught us. That's what it means to give fruit. Am I giving fruit today? And if I'm not giving fruit, why? That's why I love Psalm number 1, the very first Psalm in the Bible, which says, "No, blessed be the man who follows not the counsel of the impious." And then it says, he's like a fruitful tree that is always beside these flowing river waters, and he always gives fruit. So what does that mean? It means they're a Christian because he's besides this river of flowing waters, he always gives fruit. So there is no bad season for a Christian. He always gives fruits. Every time that Christ comes to you, you and I, if we are attached to him, we can give fruits. And how does the Lord ask for fruits? Through your kids. Maybe your kids today, they're starving for fruit, for love. Yes, okay, can I give this to them? Maybe my parishioners, if they come to me, so do I have this? Am I attached to this living water that is Christ? Because if I am, I can give fruits, because I cannot give what I don't have. But if I do have, then I can give. So it is also an invitation for us to be attached to Christ, to be this tree that is beside living river of living flowing waters. And then everything happens. And then we can give fruit. There is no bad season for a Christian. The Christian is the one that always gives fruit. And yes, in the temple here, the Lord at times he has to come, because the temple is also the image of you and me. And many times we use our life, we use our bodies, we use our temple. What for? Just for money changing. And that's precisely why we don't have fruits. Because instead of giving this place for Christ that belongs to him, for him to enter and to give fruit and to make us give fruit, we give this temple, we give this space that belongs to him to many other things, right? Money, or preoccupations or plans. That's why this pandemic is actually a blessing, because it's teaching us. It's teaching us to give this place that belongs to Christ to him. If he enters today in this temple, then everything changes. Then you are this fig tree that gives fruit. Then you are this fig tree that gives fruit. So, courage, brothers and sisters, this word is for us today. Let us allow the Lord to come. Yes, sometimes he has to come with a whip. And he does come with a whip. How is Christ coming with a whip sometimes? Through the events of your life. Maybe through this cancer, the Lord is coming with a whip. Maybe through this husband, through this wife. Maybe through these difficulties, through this addiction. Maybe the Lord is coming with this whip. What is the difficulty that today you have through which Christ is coming with a whip? Yes, and thank God he does that. And he has to do that, because that's love. That's part of what love is. Yeah, sometimes Christ was also sweet, let's say, with what other people they needed. But today he shows us a part of this love that is tough, that we need. Why for? So that we may be able to give fruit, because that's the happiness. That's happiness for you and for me. Happiness means to give fruit. If today you give fruit, you're happy. You're happy because that's what God created you and I for, which is only possible if we are attached to him. May God bless you all.